After so long of silence, Hasbro has released official news about Power Rangers, and from this we can think of many theories. Besides Hasbro, the Boom Studio Company, which is the creator of the Power Rangers comics, also made a very important announcement that could change the franchise forever. Stay tuned to this video to find out all the changes that Power Rangers will have and why all this seems like the beginning of the end or the beginning of a new era for all franchises. Recently, the company Hasbro, which owns the rights to Power Rangers, announced that they are going to give permission to the company Playmates Toys to be the ones to manufacture and distribute the new action figures of the franchise. This company is responsible for manufacturing the new Ninja Turtles toys, and they have a reach in more than 80 countries. What is known is that Hasbro has given them the licenses for the action figures, but the rights to the TV shows, series, or movies will still be retained by Hasbro. This means that all movie or TV productions will be created by Hasbro, and this is a bit strange, but we will talk about it later. The only thing they said about the new action figures is that there is going to be a new Mighty Morphin line, and this leaves us with a rather bitter taste. For those of you who started collecting the Lightning Collection action figures, we know that there were still a few Rangers missing to have all the complete teams. In addition to this, Hasbro had created some helmets of the Mighty Morphin team and also Lord Zed, but there were still some helmets missing to complete the collection. Possibly this part is the most painful for some fans because instead of completing the collection, Hasbro started to create other items that start a different collection. An example of this is the Ranger weapons from that same team, and although it had been rumored that the company's goal was to create all the weapons, apparently, this is not going to happen. We understand that there will soon be a reboot and perhaps they want to focus on the new universe, but for that same reason it also doesn't make sense for them to allow another company to continue creating action figures from the old universe. Possibly the only reason we can see in this matter is that Hasbro has delegated to another company the creation of these action figures to continue generating a little money, but without having to take care of that work and thus be able to concentrate on the new action figures of the reboot. This sounds a bit logical, but the reality is that Hasbro is a giant company, and even though we know they have been losing a lot of money, it is still strange that they are making all these moves when they are going to do a reboot of the entire franchise. The other news we had recently is that the company Boom Studio, the creators of the Power Rangers comics, announced that July 2024 is going to be the last Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic. This saga started 8 years ago, and now this is going to be the definitive closure for this story. This is also something very strange, since we thought that even though there will be a reboot of the TV series, we would still have the comics based on the old universe. These comics do not have the same story as the TV series, even though they are using the same characters, and fans who have been reading the comics know that these stories have a lot of potential to continue for many years to come. According to the press release, at the 2024 San Diego Comic-Con, the company Boom Studio is supposed to announce everything that is going to happen with the Power Rangers comics, and apparently, they have some very interesting news. We don't know if Hasbro will also be giving us news about the franchise, as they haven't said anything about that yet, but perhaps Boom Studio is also gearing up for the Power Rangers reboot. There are several options that Boom Studio may have when closing this story. They have been cooking for 8 years, and we are going to try to explain some of them. The first option I can think of is that Boom Studio wants to start a new story with the new characters that Power Rangers will have in the reboot, but this theory also has some problems. Boom Studio is going to end the saga in July, and because we don't know anything about the new characters in the Power Rangers reboot, then in August they wouldn't be able to create new comics. This means that if they want to create new stories with the characters from the new reboot universe, then they would have to wait until 2025 or until the premiere of the first season of the new series. What is not logical in all this is that they would still have around 8 or 10 months to continue creating Power Rangers comics with the same saga they have published until this moment, but if they stop this saga in July, then they would spend all those months without publishing absolutely nothing. This means that we would have no new Power Rangers comics for many months and the company would stop making money on that part. Obviously, Boom Studio has many other comics that they publish every month, but they would still lose money by making this move. This first theory also leads us to think that if the new comics are going to be about the new Power Rangers universe, then we would have the option of everything being connected, including the comics. For now, it is known that the new Power Rangers producers intend to connect the series and the movies to create a whole connected universe, just as Marvel has done so far. Despite this, Marvel has never connected the comics and the movies because, even though they use many stories from the comics to create the movies, those universes don't have a connection. This is obviously because Marvel started with the comics many years ago and the movies have only been out for a few years, so it is very difficult to make a connection between TV and comics. However, Power Rangers could make history by connecting the series, the movies, and also the comics to create a whole connected universe. This way they could create deeper and more complete stories to make everything more interesting. Imagine being able to watch the TV series, then being able to watch a movie connected to the story of the series, and then being able to know some additional details in the comic book stories, but that you are always watching the same connected story. The other option that Boom Studio may have is that they want to start creating comics about other Power Rangers teams because even though we have had the opportunity to see all the teams in action, the main personalities are the mighty Morphin. This is quite difficult to accomplish since the story they have created during all this time has involved all the teams and it would be quite difficult for the new story to make sense. Despite this, comics are a fantasy world in which the script has a lot of power, and they simply must have a lot of creativity to be able to make sense of it all. The third option the company may have is to start creating stories about new characters that are exclusive to the comics, such as the old Omega Rangers, which also have interesting stories. Among all these new characters we also have the Ranger Academy comics, although we must accept that these stories have not had the same acceptance from the fans. With all these changes in the franchise, we don't know if Hasbro is really taking Power Rangers seriously or if they are just stopping everything to avoid investing more money. For now, we know that soon we will have the reboot and maybe then we will understand all these changes that the company is making. If you want to stay connected to the reboot, like this video and subscribe to get all the Power Rangers news.